Well, it's a lovely summer's day, and I thought it might be quite nice if we all went out for a ride together. About 55k, just shy of 600 metres of climbing. We're going to go out and go around the northern edge of some of the Mendip hills. I'm going to show you around about half a dozen or so of the kind of historical sites around the area that even if you live around here, you might not know some of these facts. And it might serve as a bit of an incentive for you to come out on your bike or even visit the area. I'll leave the route down below. If you fancy coming out for a ride, get your helmet on and let's clip in and go. This first one is out in a place called Claverham Drove. It's the only one we're going to stop at because you won't see it from the road, or you might miss it from the road. The rest of them we're just going to roll through. It's just a little over 6 kilometres away from Clevedon. We'll go and have a quick look at what's in this field. You could just about make it underneath all that green foliage. There's an entrance here, and there's a blast wall here, and another entrance here. This is a place called Claverham Drove. It's out on the Ken Moor, so you might be able to make it out just there in the distance. Is the very northern outliers of the Mendip Hills. Over the other side of that is the proper Mendips, and then the other side of that you've got the Somerset Levels. But here we have something a little bit unusual. As you can see, we're in the middle of nowhere on farmland. Now, in the early 1940s, 1941 to be precise, the RAF started a special project called Special Fires Project, or SF for short. It became codenamed Starfish. And the whole idea of what they did was, we've got Bristol to our east over there, we've got Avonmouth Docks up there, both of whom massive targets for the Luftwaffe during World War II. So what they did out here was they set up a load of creosote drums and had bales of hay, and if a bombing raid, or when a bombing raid hit Avonmouth or Bristol City, the guys in that bunker would get a phone call and get told to light the fires here, and the fire brigades in the docks or in the city would do their best to get the fires out as quickly as possible. The idea being that they would draw the fire here. Now, this was an experimental site. There was also one in Blackdown up there. And in the early part of the 1941, they did draw quite a lot of fire, and they actually ended up rolling out a lot of these special fire sites all over the UK. You can just about see it from here as well. I'm not going to go in there because this is someone's gate and someone's drove. But yeah, that's a brick shelter hidden away in the middle of nowhere. So just shy of 16 kilometres in, about 100 metres of climbing, so super flat. We're just dropping into a village called Rington, originally a Roman village, and it's got a population of just under 3,000 people. Loads of very famous rich people living here, none of which I know the names of, philosophers and clerics and politicians and all those kind of rich, powerful people that lived in these amazing Gothic mansions along the road here. 3 people that did live here though, that were pretty cool. Hannah More was a reformer for schooling for poor girls. We also have Henry Walton Smith. Now, Henry Walton, H.W. Smith, bizarrely changed his initials round, started a business called W.H. Smith. He lived here. And a geologist and archaeologist called William Aveline. Now, I can only imagine he looked like Indiana Jones. That would be my dream, but he lived here also. And we're actually going to touch on some of William Aveline's further discoveries shortly. Rington's also home to my friend Andy Wolf, 2-time channel swimmer, absolute legend. As you drop down from this side, you have to be a little bit tricky because sometimes you'll find lorries parked up on the left where they're delivering to the shops that are right in the middle of the village. So you do have to take it a little bit carefully down this short, sharp little descent into the village. No lorries today. There's a good pub on the right here called The Plough, or at least it was a good pub until over there, until lockdown. Couldn't tell you what it's like now, but I'd imagine it's still pretty good. And here we are, beautiful Rington. We're going to come through the other side. If you turn left here, we're not going to carry on round to the right. If you carry on left there, you'll come to the Buckham Brewery. Wow, the traffic jam in Rington. Oh look, a bread delivery. What did I tell you about lorries and deliveries, eh? What did I tell you? Out we go, other side of Rington. All right, we all back together, all on, good. Might be worth just having a quick little drink here at the bottom of the turning to Burrington Combe, get some fluids on board. So with the route that I've taken, the climb officially starts just as you're coming out of Lower Langford, but it's very gentle, almost unnoticeable. It only really kicks up when you take the left or the right, depending on direction you're taking, and start heading up into the Combe. So despite the climb being bookended at both ends with elevation, it's really the section between the two cattle grids that really feels like you're somewhere special, somewhere possibly in another country even. It's a limestone, carnivorous limestone gorge. As you go across the cattle grid, see a sign for the mendips on the left here, and on the right, now this is Rock of Ages. There is a sign painted on it or chipped into it where apparently the brilliantly named Augustus Montague Toplady penned the song Rock of Ages. He was the curate in Blagden, we're going to go through there in a bit. He was apparently sheltering from a thunderstorm. It's a bit of a myth, I think, but on the left here we've got what I believe to be Aveline's hole. You'll see the entrance to the cave just here on my left. Now, that is the site of the earliest recorded cemetery, over 10,000 years old. There's loads of caves and caverns going through Burrington Combe, Sidcot Swallet, Goat Church Cavern, loads of them. And it's an amazing place to ride. It's busy this morning because I've come out during rush hour really. But if you come out during the day or an early summer's evening, it's really quiet. And it sort of runs parallel a little bit to Cheddar. Cheddar's over there and more or less comes up onto the same ridge. You can get to the top of Cheddar by getting to the top of Burrington and going right through a place called Charterhouse. Or you can do what we're going to do, which is to get across the cattle grid and take the first left and skip all the dull climby bits above the cattle grid and descend into Blagden instead. Dropping down Two Tree Hill into Blagden, you get an amazing view over the mendips towards Bristol, but you sure have to make sure your brakes are working well. It's a pretty steep hill and it's a bit gnarly. There's houses on here, people pulling in and out, and also drops you straight into the junction in Blagden at the bottom, so do be careful coming down here. Don't take any risks. As you go past the HQ on the left, for Yeo Valley Dairy, you get an incredible view of Blagden Lake, and that is Yeo Valley right in front of you. They dammed the River Yeo back in early 1900s to create hydroelectric power and drinking water for the city of Bristol, and also created some amazing trout fishing also. But we're dropping now into Blagden, another Roman village originally, population of around 1,000. And this is where Hannah Moore unsuccessfully tried to start her first school for underprivileged girls with the help of anti-slavery campaigner William Wilberforce. Right, Justin! This is Blagden Hill and it's really nasty the other way to come up. It literally lifts you straight up from the lake floor right the way up into the mendips. It's relatively good fun this way, even less fun the other way. Here we are, straight road takes you straight over the dam to say it's completed in the early 1900s, a hydroelectric dam. And that's the houses for the turbines, as you might be able to see over the bushes if I hold the camera up high enough. So where are we at? We've done around about 27 kilometres. So we're around about halfway now, and we've done 317 meters of climbing, so around about half the climbing. The rest of it's all relatively undulating, but on a day like today, it's just so stunning. What a place to be able to ride a bike or go for a run. Good morning. How are we doing for water? You guys okay? Cool. Well, on my left you've got Lowellsgate Airport, which has been an airport for around about 100 years. In 1927 it opened as a flying club, and then in World War II it was used to train pilots to land in foggy, bumpy, windy conditions. Now, if you've ever flown into Bristol Airport, you'll appreciate why they chose this spot. It was also a bizarre site where a Junkers German aeroplane landed here whilst the radar was jammed, part of a special mission to work out how to sort of confuse aircraft, and it actually resulted in a German aircraft landing in there during World War II. Then in the late 50s, it became an international airport and has increased over the intervening years to the size it is now, which is Britain's 8th busiest airport. Not insignificant, I think you'll agree, sometimes controversially. As we go past Lowellsgate, we end up at the top of somewhere called Brockley Combe. Now, I've purposely come this way because it's one of my favourite descents. It's also a carnivorous limestone gorge, just as Burrington is. It's shorter and it's a little bit further north, so much so that it's not, strictly speaking, part of the mendips. It's actually what they call a northern outlier of the mendips. But it was a resort that was favoured by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, so much so that he actually penned a poem, rather unoriginally named. Now, I'm not sure I can see this as being a favourite resort of mine, but it is certainly one of my favourite descents. But only really in the dry. It's tree covered, so when it's wet, it can get a little bit dicey on the corners. Now, just over the crossroads at the bottom of Brockley Combe, as you start heading back towards Cleveland and Ailsey, there's this wonderful place that I've ridden past, well, I mean, hundreds of times, called Brockley Hall. So I read up on it to do this video. It told me that during World War II, it housed American GIs and that there was a German and Italian POW camp on this site. So look, this is the road that I ride along loads, and this is the pillar for Brockley Hall. And inscribed underneath here is all these little bits of graffiti that people have etched into the wall here. This one here is probably the easiest one to read. US Army, Henry, what looks like Idris, and the surname looks like it's been scratched out, February the 17th, 1944. And there's loads of other names, loads of other inscriptions, loads of other regiments or ranks or something. One that's quite clear here, Jesse somebody up here. Absolutely phenomenal. All these times I've ridden past, never noticed any of it. Some of them have been scratched out over the years as well, but they also apparently did the same in the trees in the area. They inscribed their names in there. Forever to be remembered, eh? I don't know if you follow Bald and Bankrupt on YouTube, a guy who goes around Russia. He's talking about adventurising all the time. That's what I feel like I've done today. I feel like I've done some adventurising with you. Learned loads about the area, places that I've ridden past, you know, so many times, and yet didn't know all these things about it. Hey, how you doing?
Hi mate, how are you?
Come far?
Sherborne.
Oh, okay, fair distance then.
Yeah.
Where are you headed?
Well, Conwy.
Oh, blimey, wow. When did you start?
Only yesterday.
And how are you feeling?
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
We're only doing 50 miles a day, so...
It's still not to be sniffed at, is it? Oh, good for you.
First time we've done a long time.
Oh, well, that'd be amazing. I'm kind of jealous. I'm heading home now. I feel like I should be doing further now. Have a fab ride.
Okay.
Stay safe, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
So that brings us neatly back into Cleveland. My Garmin's telling me I've done just shy of 53 kilometres, so it'll be about 54 and a half by the time I get home, and just over 560 metres of climbing. So a lovely ride, and I've really enjoyed looking into local history to take you out on this little spin. I appreciate it was all a bit last minute, and I appreciate you taking the opportunity to come out for a ride with me. But when we get to the roundabout up here, I'm going straight on, and I know that you've got to go right. So I will leave the links to the ride and a GPX link below, and I'll see you for a ride some other time. Perhaps we'll organise a real one. What do you reckon? Nice one. I'll see you later.